Oh my gosh, we are finally doing this. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica. I'm here to share with you guys my journey with my chronic illness, which is called hidradenitis suppurativa. But I also want to share some other fun things that I love, such as motherhood. I love being a mom. I love to travel. We do so much. And so I opened up my Instagram the other day and opened up a Q&A. So I wanted you guys to ask me a ton of questions, and I got so many. I was so blown away. So let's just jump right into all the questions. I'm gonna start, I broke it into two categories. So I broke it into a personal category, like my personal life, and then I also broke it into my HS journey. So let's start with my personal life. Okay, so the first question was just explain a little bit about myself. So my name is Jessica. I am 29 years old. I cannot believe I'm 29 years old. I have two kids. Their names are Hadley. She is almost 4, and then my son Jackson, who is almost 1.5. They are exactly 2.5 years apart, 2.5 years and a day apart, and they are the loves of our lives. I'm married to my husband, Andrew. He is a mechanical engineer at a hospital. I am also an extremely family-oriented person. I am so close to my mom, my dad, my grandparents. I'm really close to my sister. She is quite literally my best friend. And yeah, that is like me in a nutshell. I am a people pleaser. I love my family. I love so hard with my heart. What do I do for a living? Well, full-time, I am a stay-at-home mom. I love being home with my kids. That was something that Andrew and I always dreamed of, is being home with our kids. And so that is my full-time job. I am a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I also started sharing my journey with my chronic illness on social media, and that blew up overnight in my face, which is incredible. So I've also started doing some content creation, as well as I am a high school cheer coach. I did competitive cheer for 9 years. My sister did it for I think 11 or 12 years. And I just took that passion and rolled with it. And now I'm a high school cheer coach. This will be my almost 8th year doing that. And I find so much joy in being with the high schoolers. For me, it's not just about being a coach. I am here for their big life moments. And some of them look to me like I am their mom. And I love that feeling of just having this positive influence on these kids. Okay, that was the only couple questions you guys had about me personally. Now let's move into what you really want to know, which is about my HS. Obviously, my most asked question is, what is HS? And that's the short term for hidradenitis suppurativa. And that is an autoimmune condition that affects basically your sweat glands and your hair follicles, that creates these tiny little lumps in not pleasant places. A lot of people get them in their private parts. I primarily get mine in my groin, my breast, my armpits, as well as in the middle of my chest. And there's really no cure for it. So long story short, HS is an inflammatory disease of your glands, basically. Okay, so the next question is, what age did I first get HS and what are my locations? So I started getting HS around when I started hitting puberty, so I was about 12 years old. At the time, my pediatrician sent me to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist at the time was like, yep, you have HS. And all they had to do was basically look at one of my active flares. My first location was right here at the top of my chest. And there at the time, I mean, I'm 29 now, so that was 17 years ago. At the time, there was absolutely zero information on what HS is and treatments for it. So we just started doing things that my doctor thought was going to be helpful at the time. So I've done Accutane, we did gland removals, we've tried so much, and I'll make a whole video of all the things that I tried for treatments. But yeah, I was 12 years old, and that's when I first started getting it. Okay, the next question I got was, what are some of my favorite products that I use for my HS and where do I get them? So for me, I actually learned this off of TikTok. This company called My Magic Healer reached out to me, and they sent me a jar of their drawing salt. I think it's called salve, and it is incredible. I seriously love it so much. And I primarily use that on my groin ones. That's where it works the best for me. Down here in the description, I will have a link to my Amazon that has everything that I'd love to use, but the Magic Healer is my #1 favorite product. My second favorite product, which is something I just started trying this year, is hydrocolloid patches, which are basically pimple patches, but they make bigger ones, and I use it when my HS is getting close to the surface. And everybody has different kinds of HS. Some people's is just internal, some are external. Mine have a hard time coming out of my body because of all the scar tissue from all the years of having HS. So when I use a hydrocolloid patch, it actually helps draw it to the surface and works really well for me. So like my two favorite products are Magic Healer and hydrocolloid patches. Okay, the next question I got is, how do you know if you have HS? And I would say if you continuously have like cystic looking acne in those places I was talking about, your breast, your groin, some people get it on their butt, your armpits, your chest, wherever, I recommend just sending a picture or taking pictures, you know, because I know it's hard to get doctor's appointments. I've been there. Taking pictures, sending it to your primary care doctor, and asking for a referral to a dermatologist. My primary care doctor will not treat my HS, but some will. But mine just send me to a dermatologist. The next question I got was, how do you manage pain of HS? And unfortunately, in all my years, there's no pain management. Nobody has ever given me pain meds. Unless I'm going in and having something surgically done, I do not get any sort of pain meds. So I just literally tough it out. And that is the worst. I try my best to use heat, and I mean, Tylenol doesn't really take the edge off, and neither does ibuprofen, but I just really try to take it easy and do things for myself. If I'm in a lot of pain, that will make me feel better in the moment. I had a lancing of one of my spots in my armpit back in November, and the ER doctor gave me a prescription for pain medication, and he gave me a kind of bigger prescription in case I had more flare-ups that were active and as painful as the one I currently had in my armpit at the time. So I'm really grateful for that. And I didn't use, obviously, that whole prescription when I had this procedure done. So I have backup meds right now if I need any, but I really try not to take them if... Okay, the next question I got is, how did I tell my husband, or how do I tell other people about my HS? And honestly, this one took me a lot of thought. I was like, how did I tell my husband, Andrew, about this? So I had to ask him because I really could not remember. It's just always been a part of our lives. So this is kind of a funny story. My husband and I met on Tinder, and my husband has no social media. And at the time, we'd been talking for a while, we'd been texting, we were about to go on our first date, and I actually did get an HS flare-up. This is not a lie. But I canceled on him last minute because I thought he was a catfish because, again, he had no social media. And I told him why. I was like, hey, I have to cancel our date. I am having a flare-up of my HS. I'm so sorry. And, you know, we canceled our date. At that time, though, this is a major green flag for my husband, is he looked up what HS was and became like, he just knew. There was no questions asked or anything. He was just like, okay, whatever you need. And obviously, like, I think the next day, he asked to FaceTime me to see if I was feeling better. And I did. And obviously, he is who he said he was because I married him. And it's just always been a part of our lives forever. Tries really hard to be as supportive as he can with my HS. He does not have any issues with it. He learned how to pack my wounds and unpack my wounds. He helps me with dressing changes if I need it. For the most part, though, I can handle my HS on my own, and I kind of prefer to do it that way just because it is kind of It's a little yucky, but my husband will step up if I need it, obviously. Okay, my next question was, what advice would I give my younger self who's going through HS? I wish at the time I knew that it was so common. I felt so lonely at the time. As I said, I was a competitive cheerleader, and so, you know, it's not the most modest sport by any means, and I just always felt exposed and I felt yucky. Thank God at the time my HS was not as bad as it is now, just because like HS has a smell to it. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you're very lucky that you don't know what the smell is. But I wish that I knew that I wasn't the only person in the world who had it, because that's how I felt at the time. And I felt just so disgusting. And now I say, like, I have a lot of scars on my body from my HS, and I think of those as like my battle scars, how strong I was to have to endure all of this. And now I have these, you know, these scars to prove what I've been through. So I wish that my younger self would have known that it was all going to be okay and that you weren't alone. And I think that's why I started sharing this. Okay, the last question we got was, can I talk about my HS with postpartum, pregnancy, and periods? So let's start with periods. Whenever I'm about to get my period, my HS flares up in my groin only. So I always will get a couple spots, but basically by the time my period is over, the spots have gone away. So that is like where we believe that HS is tied into hormones. Pregnancy. Holy moly, 2 different pregnancies. As I said, I have my daughter Hadley, who's 3, and my son, who's 1. My daughter's pregnancy was so awful with my HS. I had some of the worst flare-ups, and if you know, when you're pregnant, there's not a lot of options in terms of like surgery. I also was I was pregnant with my daughter during COVID, and so you couldn't get in to see a doctor. There was literally no help unless I went to an emergency room, which is like the only option through Kaiser. There is no urgent care. It is a doctor's appointment or the emergency room with Kaiser. And so I ended up going to Kaiser a few times and having to have spots drained open, and it was awful. And I've had a lot of spots drained open without pain medication because I was pregnant. But they immediately feel better after you do it. So with my daughter's pregnancy, my HS was awful. I had constant flare-ups the whole time. With my son's pregnancy, I had 0 flare-ups the entire pregnancy, and it was the best 9 months ever. I had no period and no flare-ups, and it was incredible. Postpartum wise, with both babies, I had bad flare-ups in my breast. About, I would say 2 to 3 months after I had them is when I started getting these really bad flare-ups in between my breasts. With my daughter, I just it hurt so bad to nurse, and it really affected my milk supply. So we switched her to formula really quickly. I would say before she was 3.5 months old, she was on formula. With my son, I wanted to try to power through the HS, and so I was pumping around the clock because the HS spot was so big. It was putting pressure. When my milk ducts were full, it was putting pressure on my HS spot even more than they already was there. So it was so painful. So I had to constantly pump to relieve that pressure off of the HS spot. And it hurt my milk supply. It really did. And I powered through for Jackson until he was about 4.5-ish months old. So it wasn't, I tried my best. But yeah, those are all the questions we got over on Instagram. I am so excited to share so much with you guys over here on YouTube. This is, like I said, my first video, and I'm so excited about it. We are getting ready to leave for Hawaii, so you're gonna see a lot of Hawaii content coming up soon. I'm a full-time mom, so you're gonna see lots of morning routines here, night routines here with my kids. You're going to see all of our travel. Like I said, we have Hawaii coming up. We're going to Disneyland hopefully soon. Lots of fun things in store for the channel. Thanks for watching, guys.